This is the new Kawasaki KLX 230, a proper Japanese spec dual purpose motorcycle that has been long awaited by a lot of motorcyclists until now. So far the options in the market have been with the Hero Impulse 200 in the beginner segment, but Kawasaki has brought this to India now and changes the entire market and the situation in that aspect for beginner, novice and novice riders in the off-road segment, and also for experienced riders who want a machine which is simpler in terms of power and easy to handle and something fun to ride as such. So we are spending some time with this motorcycle today to give you a first-hand experience of how this motorcycle is to ride, how it performs, how is the motor. And before we get going, if you're new to our channel, do subscribe to Car and Bike for the latest news, reviews and updates from the world of cars and bikes from Car and Bike. Let me give you a quick run through of the design and features of the KLX 230. So now this is a road legal motorcycle. So you get a proper headlamp, you get turn indicators. This one can be registered, so you get a number plate up front. So but the overall structure and the overall profile of the motorcycle is very close to a dual purpose motorcycle. So you have got long travel suspension, you got these tall fenders, you got a 21-inch front and an 18-inch rear. You got a high ground clearance of 238 mm, and along with that the seat is short and narrow, so it's a pretty perfect ride where you want it to be for a dual purpose motorcycle. To give you a quick idea of the ergonomics, this one is the accessorized motorcycle, so it's got a low seat which is 14 mm lesser than the stock seat height, which is set at 880 mm. This one has got a luggage carrier, it's got an engine guard. Apart from that, you also get these knuckle protectors, you get a C-type USB charging port, and yeah, so that's pretty much there. And to talk about the ergonomics, like I told you, so I'm 5'6.5", and despite the off-road boots that I'm wearing, I'm able to comfortably flat foot on this motorcycle. On the stock seat, I was pretty much tiptoeing a bit, but then once you get on the motorcycle, the suspension compresses, so the 880 mm seat height does feel intimidating on the paper, but once you are on the bike, it doesn't feel much, so you're a lot more comfortable with it. And riders of my height shouldn't have any problem with it. Taller riders definitely wouldn't have much problem with this seat height. Shorter riders, if you are skilled enough, I don't think it should be any problem as such, but this is pretty much there to get on the off-roading scene. And since it's a road legal bike, you can very much commute with it and you can use it for a daily purpose. And on off-roads, you can hit the trails, you can also take off the headlamp or whatever you won't need to make it off-road ready for competition as well. Coming to the cycle parts of the KLX 230, you get Showa suspension setup, you get telescopic fork at the front and a monoshock at the rear with Unilink suspension, which works out absolutely fantastic on these trails. Apart from that, you got disc brakes at both ends, and that being said, you get dual channel ABS, which is switchable on the go. You get a button on the handlebar, so you can switch it off on the go. You don't have to wait and then go into the menu and the settings to turn it off, which is a very nifty and a handy feature, because when you're riding this motorcycle on the road and you decide to get it off it, you can quickly turn off the ABS for the motorcycle. Apart from that, come to the motor. Now Kawasaki has kept it pretty simple with the engine for the KLX 230. Now this one is a 233cc single cylinder air-cooled motor that churns out roughly about 18 bhp of max power and 18 Nm of peak torque. Now on paper, these numbers do not seem to be that significant and are pretty much in the ballpark of what the Hero X Pulse 204V produces. But the main talking factor is the curb weight, which is 139 kg, and that is about 20 kgs less than the X Pulse 200. So if you had to consider the power to weight ratio for this motorcycle, that is huge, and that translates to a completely different experience when it comes to riding this motorcycle. Apart from that, the motor is made into a 6-speed gearbox. Now yes, for a bike like this, one might think that a 6-speed gearbox, is it required and that, but Kawasaki has thoughtfully decided to go for a 6-speed gearbox because along with the off-roading that you'll be doing, wherein you'll be using the first 3 or 4 gears. The 6th gear is like an overdrive which helps in touring. It keeps the revs low and it's much more comfortable and much more smoother to cover long distances. That being said, let me give you a quick listen to the exhaust note of this motorcycle. That was the exhaust note. Do let us know in the comments what you think about it. Apart from that, do also let us know what you think about the bike's design and the other features that Kawasaki has to offer. The power feels just about right for all these kind of terrain, and there's enough punch in the first 3 gears is what we are riding the bike in. And yeah, the motor is absolutely tractable. There's enough punch. The weight, the low weight which is there, it's an excellent tool for a beginner motorcycle is what I can complete take away from this initial impression. And also for an experienced rider who has been riding big machines, can definitely have a lot of fun on this motorcycle. It's a tool that you can use to hone your off-roading skills. There's enough and more power to power through all these kind of obstacles and terrains, and it gives you all the required feedback. The suspension has been very well tuned. The Unitrack rear suspension link helps in easing out the front bump. So this, on something like these, for small bumps, it's pretty smooth. The suspension travel is very linear, and when you take on those hard jumps, it gets stiff. So that is exactly what you'd want on a motorcycle like this. It makes it extremely fun to ride. There's barely any weight that you notice. The clutch action is very smooth. The handlebar is wide enough. You are sitting. So that being said, an absolute joy it is to ride this motorcycle. It's extremely nimble and the tires are doing a pretty good job. No signs of washing out as such. Probably drop the pressures a bit, and you're pretty much good to go. The engine is extremely peppy. So after spending some time with the new Kawasaki KLX 230, and although it was an initial experience, it didn't take much time to get accustomed to the motorcycle. Barely 5 minutes of riding with this motorcycle and I was absolutely at home, and it was a joyful experience right from the get-go. So that itself tells you that this motorcycle has been very well engineered. It's a Japanese proper dual purpose motorcycle. It has got all the works. It's got the motor, it's got the long travel suspension, it has got the ergonomics, it's got the kit. And if you are a budding off-road competition player who wants to get into off-roading, serious off-roading, you can very much spec this up for competition use and go out and compete as well. While this motorcycle ticks all the boxes in terms of its ride, handling, powertrain and features, the main aspect that it boils down to is the pricing. Now Kawasaki hasn't announced the prices, and we are expecting it to be somewhere in the ballpark of sub 3 lakh ex-showroom price, which will be quite a very formidable and very lucrative price tag for Kawasaki to make the best of this segment space. Now Kawasaki hasn't been that bullish on localization yet. They are still working out the best way to get around it. That being said, if you are a motorcyclist who is very avid about off-roading or also likes to hit the trails, this motorcycle is right up your alley. If you are willing to pay that extra price and because the experience is definitely going to be worth it and you're not going to be bored of riding this motorcycle despite having owned it for a good number of years. And the same applies for experienced riders as well. You might have a much bigger motorcycle which is a lot powerful and everything, but then there are times when you want a machine which is a lot simpler, you want to test your skills, you want to improve them, and for that you don't need a powerful machine. Something like this gets the job done very well and it packs all the fun and the grit that you want from a machine to have all the fun that you can get. This is Janak Sorap and I will see you in the next video. We will be doing a detailed review of this motorcycle again when we get it for a longer duration, wherein we'll ride this motorcycle on tarmac and also tour on it to give you a better sense of how this motorcycle performs on the road. Until then, ride safe and always wear a helmet, and thank you for watching Car and Bike.